Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and we are in Azteca today, which looks and sounds like a war zone, but we've got something important to talk about, and we're in Azteca today because of this spell, Winter Moon. This is just basically a little Azteca sword that pops up, throws like a bolt of ice or whatever at the target, and it does some pretty good damage. Now, we're here to talk today because for some ungodly reason, the developers have been talking about potentially PvP banning with this Path of Winter Moon, which I might add would be happening if it were to just happen out of the blue, like today or something. It would be mere weeks after this path was added, because for the longest time it was just this and the top path. And when stuns got banned last year, Winter Moon as a spell was banned entirely until earlier this year when they added this bottom path, and this bottom path is a godsend for ice, I'll tell you that much. This bottom path of Winter Moon is just so good because it gives us a good 6-pip hit that does a lot of damage. Now, ice really needed this in PvP, and I mean, because like beforehand we were using, you know, Colossus, which I really don't have any extras of that aren't the Path B version, but you basically get the idea. It did like 600 to 680 ice damage, and which was not bad necessarily, but it was like a big range and wasn't really too reliable as a hit. Whereas with Winter Moon, you know, tier 5 to 685 damage, so that is honestly really solid. But as is the custom with KingsIsle and Wiz and P just in general, people are upset that this card exists in the game, and people are also apparently upset about Ninja Pigs because they are okay, so these two cards are the only ones of their kind that cost both 6 pips or 4 and 1 school pip, and because of how they value school pips, these spells... Do you mind? Anyway, my badge is so huge now, but anyway, so these spells are the only ones of their kind. It's just Winter Moon and Ninja Pigs that do this, with 4 pips plus 1 school pip. And these... I mean, these are really good spells. Like, Myths use Ninja Pigs. I mean, if you're not going for like strictly PvE, I mean, a reg myth will still use Ninja Pigs, but you know, you got things like Winter Moon and Ninja Pigs. You know, they're the only cards of their kind. But for some reason, there are some people in this community, namely Storm Wizards with large YouTube channels in particular, that have been railing against the idea of Winter Moon being in the game. Now, the reason for this is Storm has low resist, Ice has low offensive stats, but it works against Storm because, you know, Storm doesn't have resist, and that's kind of the main pitfall that we experience against every other school. Where a Winter Moon is doing maybe 1,500 to 2,000 on a good day, right, to most other schools, it's doing over 2,000 to Storm Wizards. And, you know, Ice is supposed to counter Storm. For those of y'all who watched my tier list video that I did with Cass back on Thursday, it kind of doesn't do that to the degree that some of these Storm Wizards with large YouTube channels are sort of making it out to be. But, yeah, it's like they're losing their main counter matchup, and this is really helpful and instrumental in that. And so, because of that, they want this spell gone. Or at least, at the very least, Storm could get a 4-pip and single school pip spell of their own. Like Path A Triton, which I can't actually show you right now, does 920 damage, which is pretty good, but if it were to have a school pip attached to it, with, you know, like obviously the pip costs 4 pips plus the school pip, it would do 1,020, which is how much a base Heket does, seeing as Heket is 7 pips, and for some ungodly reason, the devs value... Okay, every time I step onto this island, bro, a meteor hits me in the face. But yeah, for some reason, the developers decided it would be a very good idea for school pips to be valued as 2 pips in terms of, you know, like balancing purposes. So, or it's 3 pips, I guess, technically, because a school pip is 2, or power pip is 2, rather. So, technically speaking, this means with Wintermoon, we are getting 7 pips of value for only 6, and that is the problem that this Storm Wizard with a large YouTube channel has with it. And of course, this is the Ice School. Let's be totally honest. We don't need any more nerfs. More are coming, by the way, but we don't need any more. And just the devs are starting to talk about, you know, nerfing or banning these, like these pure damage school pip spells. And I don't. Oh my god. Okay, I'll tell you why they want to do this. And there is one spell that I guess kind of validates their backwards thinking, but in terms of things like Wintermoon and Ninja Pigs, these don't need to be tweaked in any way, because, I mean, dude, it's literally just a flat damage hit. This is one of the only things that Ice has going for it right now. The second this Path B came out, every Ice Wizard was using it, so I don't know. I guess some folks are just bitter. But it is what it is. So yeah, I guess the main thing that I'm trying to do with this video is to sort of get this message out to the devs. I do know that Redbeard watches my videos apparently, so there is that to think about. But I'm hoping that some of the developers give this video a listen and decide against banning or nerfing this Path of Wintermoon. And I'll tell you why I'll tell you why they want to do this. So, let me finally get this giant-ass name and badge out of my face. But let's look at my balance wizard, and you probably can understand where this is going. So, the balance school has been dominant in max level PvP for quite some time. It's not really a surprise about this. And the reason for this is because in the fall of 2022, there was a spell added to Balance's arsenal called Scales of Destiny. This one right here. And at its max tier version, let me find that, it'll do 225 life, then 225 ice, and then 225 balance damage on its A path, obviously. This is an immense amount of damage. Let's be real. So, yeah, man, I mean, it just does so much. But yeah, it does a ton of damage. It does a total of 675 at max tier. And the thing with that is, there are 2 school pips factored into its pip cost. So it's 5 pips, but it's 7 pips of value. And this spell, naturally, has been wreaking havoc on the PvP arena ever since. Because, I mean, it's a lot of damage. I mean, it's like I said, it's 7 pips of value for 5. And the devs have been wanting to look at school pips and sort of tweak how they function. And basically just like nerf the damage on all pure damage school pip spells. And Scales has sort of started that conversation. And the reason for that is, you know, you've got a spell like Scales, right? It does a lot of damage for not a lot of pips, and it's very easy to spam in quick succession, and overall, I mean, it's that guy, pretty much. But because this spell is problematic, the devs want to nerf all of the pure damage school pip spells. And I'll tell you why this one is problematic. And so, like, there are people that say, you know, like, oh, there's 2 school pips factored into this one, and that, I will say, is a part of the problem, but it's not the reason why the spell is broken. The spell is broken because it is a triple hit that you really can't effectively shield against. It does life damage, which you can cover with a spirit shield, then it does ice damage, which you can cover with an elemental shield, but already that's 2 turns spent just shielding, to which, of course, they can just power nova anyway. But then the last hit is balance, which you can't effectively shield against unless you get 3 tower shields down, 3 of the exact same tower shield down. So that's where we're at with Scales. But it's a lot of damage for a triple hit. And yeah, I mean, the thing with Wintermoon is the fact that, you know, if you just use an elemental shield or really just any shield in general, then you're good, you know? Like, you can't Winter Moon into a tower shield and expect it to go well. So it's like, that's just sort of my thing. It's like Ninja Pigs, you can't, you know, hit into a shield with that and have it still do good damage. You can't Winter Moon into a shield and have it still do good damage. It's like the concept there is the same, but with Scales of Destiny, if somebody does decide to use a tower shield, for example, the life hit will be halved in terms of its damage, but the Ice and Balance hits will do the very same damage. So there's no effective way to mitigate it outside of weaknessing, which is only a 30% debuff as opposed to a shield's 50. So, you know, it's really just not the same at all in terms of just how you can mitigate this card. And the best thing that you can do really is get a 30 weakness and a stabilize on. That is the best way that you can mitigate the damage from the scales. And that is the problem here. The problem is not with the fact that it does a lot of damage. The fact of the matter is, this spell is a problem because it is a triple hit. And so the devs, it's like, this isn't the change that they're talking about isn't confirmed. It's not set in stone that they'll be banning the pure damage school pip cards from PvP. But listen, in my day, I have seen random Wednesday patches get pushed out, and changes we thought were so unpopular the devs wouldn't do them ended up happening in those updates. So, like, just in those random patch updates. So, I think it's important that we as a community sort of get ahead of the curve on this one and express our disdain for, you know, throwing ice, of course, like another nerf to the ice school, as well as myth, just under the bus, because, you know, Scales of Destiny is an overpowered card. Scales is the only one of its kind that really poses much of a problem. I mean, unless you're a Storm Wizard with a large YouTube channel, and you have trouble with ice for some reason. So, Scales is the problem. It is the only problem. And I mean, what about Scales is different from, you know, Winter Moon and Ninja Pigs? You know, it's a triple hit. Like, let me just spell that out for the devs real quick. Yet again, it is a triple hit. That is where the problem lies, and we don't need to be banning or nerfing spells like Winter Moon or Ninja Pigs. Or any of the other Path A's. I mean, it's like if you look at something like, I mean, I guess I don't really have any Nova spell elements on me right now, but if you were to look at something like, I don't know, Deathly Depths, for example, that would also be on the chopping block for the A path, because it's pure damage school pip spell. And so that, I mean, bro, like, I don't know. I don't know if the devs are ever going to make that make sense, but it is my hope that even though Developer Cam, the Ron DeSantis of Wiz, as it were, is thinking about making these changes, it's like, it's obviously not set in stone, but like, look, when this design team is concerned, like, we need to get ahead of the curve on making sure they know that we do not want this change, and we do not think it's a good balancing change. And the big problem, the only problem, is Scales of Destiny. And if this card can get nerfed, and honestly, like, the damage doesn't even need to really come down all that much, in my honest opinion. Like, if this were to do, let's say, okay, so it does 675 total damage. What if we just made it do 325 life damage and then 325 ice damage? There you go. You know, that's an ice and a life pip being used effectively, and you can shield against that too. So, I don't know. That seems logical to me. Just turn it. Like, I mean, a double hit is still kind of a stretch for keeping this in the game, but you could at least shield against it and have it be more effective. Like, a tower shield would go from shielding against 1/3 of the spell's immense amount of damage down to 1/2. And, you know, of course, you could, like if you're a shielding school, if you're an ice, a death, or a myth, then it is likely that you could have an elemental shield and a spirit shield up at the same time, and, you know, then this wouldn't be a good move at all, because the balance would not get any damage out of this, because then, obviously, the ice and the life hits would be shielded against. So, I don't know. I've been yapping for too long. If any devs do decide to watch this video, then I do hope that they understand our perspective, and they can understand that things like this and, you know, scales, like scales is the problem. Winter Moon and Ninja Pigs are not the problem, scales is the problem. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to it than that. It's just sort of nerf scales, leave everything else alone. Yeah. And you honestly don't even, it's like I said, you don't need to nerf the damage on scales. Like if you just made it to, I don't know, 335, you know, damage, then that's still 670. That's most of the way there to what it currently is. And it would be fine if it was just a double hit. Or maybe not fine, but, you know, significantly less broken. And it would definitely swing a lot of matchups away from the balance. And, you know, maybe a tier list like the one that I did last Thursday would actually look a little different. And balance wouldn't be winning literally every single one of its matchups, outside of, I think, Myth. But still, you know, you get the point there. So, there you have it. Scales of Destiny is a problem. Winter Moon and the Ninja Pigs are not a problem. And I need to say that over and over and over so that the devs understand it. Thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more. And I will see y'all later.